So you started? Hi, welcome to this math lesson. We've started apparently. Today we're going to be talking about 3.3 in your math book, and that is comparing numbers 1 to 10. So we're going to be comparing some numbers. You're going to need some stuff for that. You're going to need this book right here, and you are going to need pages 45 and 47. There is no page 46. Apparently we're not working on our counting skills with these pages. Up here it says 3.3a, and it's got these numbers right here. These all need to be cut out from the page before you work on them at the end. And this is where you're going to glue those later on after we get through the lesson. So, like I said, we're talking about comparing numbers today. You can compare all kinds of things. Sometimes you can talk about how some things are shorter than other things. You could say that some things are taller than other things. In math, we talk about comparisons in terms less than or greater than. So today we're going to be working on greater than. There's a couple different ways that you can work on which number is greater. So one of the ways you can do it is you can look at your number tracks that we've had. Hopefully at this point you've kind of made one of these. It's a little track of numbers, and it's just counting up. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. General rule of thumb with counting, the higher you go, the more numbers that you count, the greater the number is going to be. So if you start at 1, there's nothing to compare it to. It's just 1 by itself. But if you go to 2, then you are counting a little bit more, and you can say 2 is greater than 1. If you keep going higher in numbers, so you go 1, 2, 3. 3 is a bigger number than 2. There's just more stuff in that number, so you could say that 3 is greater than 2. You can go all the way down here and say 10 is greater than all of these numbers because there's more stuff. Another way you can do it, instead of just looking at these tracks, and these tracks can go on forever as high as you can count, is you can just look at how much stuff you have, and then you can compare those two things. So let's grab out a couple numbers. I'm going to go ahead and pause this video right here so I can get some numbers, because right now I don't have any numbers to show you. So I'm going to go grab those because I don't know where they are, and then we'll get started with comparing numbers. So go ahead and pause it right there. All right, so like I said, today we're talking about, welcome back by the way, we're talking about comparing numbers. We're really just focusing on greater than today. That means essentially more stuff. So I pulled out a couple numbers off of our number track. They're both numbers that you are familiar with. There's the number 1, and then there's the number 2. So I pulled these out. I'm just going to show you how we would compare these numbers. Which one is the greater number? Which one has more stuff in it? So I'm going to go ahead and use our little friends, the bears, to show you what these numbers actually are. This is just a drawing of one thing. So if I'm going to show number 1, I can use one bear, okay? So for this, you could use any kind of counter. It could be pennies, it could be bears, it could be little action figures that you have. Whatever you want to use, I always use the same thing so I don't get mixed up with my counters. So I've got one bear. But if I want to show this number right here, this is the number 2, well, I can't put down one bear because this is the number 1. That's not what I'm trying to show. Right here, I'm trying to show number 2. So I need to put down 2 bears. Once you do this, it's just a simple matter of looking and seeing which one has more bears. Which one is greater? Right now, over here, there's just the 1 bear. So we can easily see that there's 2 here. This is the greater number. If we're comparing these numbers, we would say 2 is greater than 1, meaning there's just more stuff. What if we do it with other numbers? It goes right there. Let's pull out, I don't know, let's try 3 and 5. Let's look at 3 and 5. So here's 3. Here's the drawing for 5. So we know we're talking about 5 things. Which one is greater? Some of you can tell right now the bigger number is one of these numbers. You can just say this one is greater. I know that's a bigger number. If I was using my fingers, I'd have more fingers up. But if you don't know, it's totally fine. Eventually you'll get to know it, and right now we're all learning together. So I'm going to go ahead and pull out counters so that I can double check myself, because sometimes I make mistakes in math. It's totally cool to make mistakes. That's the only time you really learn anything, so it's totally fine to do that. One of the ways that you can avoid that is by pulling out counters and looking. So for this one, I'm going to show you 3 things. 1, 2, 3. That's the number of 3 things. That's the number 3 showing that I have 3 things. Over here, I'm going to show 5 things. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So I use my counters, I put them out. Over here I can tell you there are 3 things, over here there are 5 things. I'm going to ask you, which one is greater? Which one has more stuff? If you said 5, you are right. There are more stuff here. There are more things here than over here. We can also look at the fact that, well, there's 3 right there. 3 here, 3 here, but this one has 2 more things already. So we know that this is a bigger number. And if we look at our little track here, might want to come up real close. Our 3 is right here, and we have to keep counting to get to our 5. So there's our 5. We know that that's a bigger number because it goes farther down our track if you use the track. What if I have 8? Oh, I'll put it over here. Why not? 8 and 2. Which one do you think might be the greater number? Which one has more stuff? Which one would be more fingers? Let's just try fingers. Let's say you're out of teddy bears. You don't have teddy bears at your house, but you have fingers. Which one of these 2 numbers would you need to put up more fingers? If you put up more fingers, that's going to be the greater number. So let's try one of these. Okay, let's see 8. Let's try 8. I'm going to put up 8 fingers. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. That is 8 fingers. I got a bunch of fingers up. I had to use both hands to show 8. But what if I want to show 2? So I've already showed 8. This is what it looks like. Take a little picture with your brain. That's what 8 looks like. And then I'm going to show you 2. 1, 2. Which one had more fingers? I didn't even have to use my other hand to show 2. So we know right away that 8 is a greater number. It has more fingers up. So that's how we're going to compare today. When you guys are doing your work, I want you to pull out your counters or your number track, whichever one you want to try, and you're going to pull out your workbook pages. Your workbook pages are going to kind of look like my numbers that I was using. So I was taking numbers and comparing them. What you're going to do is you're going to cut some out and you're going to compare them yourself. So I told your parents earlier, now I'm telling you, this page right here, it's page 45. You need to cut all these different numbers apart. And then what you're going to do for your work on this one is you're going to use the next page, which is 47. It looks like this. It says paste cards in the boxes, then circle the greater number in each pair. And in all honesty, it doesn't matter which one you put them in. You can put these all in different boxes. You're going to glue them in here. And then you're going to look at each number and say which one is greater, which one has more things. So pull out your counters. Let's say we put, and you can even start with the one we just did, 8 and 2. So you're going to cut off the 8 and the 2 out of these boxes. You can put it up top right here, 8 and 2, and then you know which one's greater, which one would have more things. Count your fingers. You want to circle the one that's greater, which one's the bigger number. And we already talked about the fact that 8 was the bigger number. So if you put 8 and 2 right here on the top, you know which one's bigger. And that's one that I'm going to give you today because you're on break. Or you just got back from break. But that's it for this lesson today. Take a picture of what you end up doing. Send it into your teacher so we know how you feel about this greater than versus less than thing. We'll talk about less than a little bit later. It just means the smaller of the 2 numbers, so we don't really need to get into it right now. For this particular lesson, which one is greater? Show me what you think. Show your teachers what you think, and we'll see you next lesson.